Elmo Ponsdomenech is the re-recording artist for Billie Eilish, The World's Little Blurry. I'm Matt Noble of Gold Derby, and I wanted to ask you, Elmo, what for you was the most important thing, or the most important choice that you made in doing the re-recording for
That's
this?
actually pretty simple. When we began, I met with R.J. Culler, the director, connected, and Trevor Smith, our producer, connected me with Aaron Forbes, who's the Billy's music director. He did the premixes, which were stereo premixes of the music for the concert sequences, and we had to have a chat about Dolby Atmos and what our approach to Dolby Atmos would be and what Billy would like. Because really, it came down to we wanted to represent her and her music the way she felt was, proper. And we had a conversation about different ways to approach Atmos. Immersion in the center, like you've got everything around you, or more like we're at the concert and we're looking at it in front of us, but we feel the room around us. And the latter is what he felt Billy would be happy with. And I think ultimately that shaped the mixes completely in terms of how we approached finding balances and panning in an Atmos environment, which gives you a pretty big canvas. So you know I think that was it, really.
When you're approaching a project where the subject is a musical recording artist, does that make it easier as like a re-recording mixer because like sounds such a big part, or does it make it trickier because it's like what it's all about?
I think it makes it a lot more fun. Really,
Yeah.
is more to the point, because there's an investment in representing the artist as well as you can. And I know RJ, it's very much a cinema verite style documentary. Was very adamant about making sure that we felt like we were there and that was true to what was there, and not super enhanced in a way that you got the feeling that you were at a giant venue instead of the small club she was playing at the beginning of her career. So for me, and because my background was music as personally, it was a blast. I just had the greatest time. Not to mention, I mean, as soon as I found out that I was going to be doing it, I basically immersed myself for a month in Billie Eilish, everything Billie Eilish, and I knew who she was, and I liked some of the songs, but I really went to town on doing my homework and making sure that when we got to the stage that we were going to represent her sound as well as her music as what as good as we could. So for me, it was just a lot of fun. I mean, really truly fun. I'd do this every day if I could.
What's your favorite Billie Eilish song?
It's funny you should ask that. No one's ever asked me that question, and I thought, I wonder if he'll ask me what my favorite Billie Eilish song is. That's a really tough one. Oh gosh, I'm sure you've heard some of it as well. I mean, that first album, the whole thing is just amazing. So every song is gold. Um, as far as the fun factor, I liked "Wish You Were Gay." I thought that's just a really fun song, and the way that the groove is, and the way she treats it when she performs it is just really a lot of fun. But to say it's a favorite, but the favorite is difficult. I'd say that she's got a lot of ties in my mind. There's a lot of things that are equally as good. So, but I love that. I think that's a really fun song.
As someone who sort of works, you've got a background in music, and also you work in sound. What do you appreciate about the sound of Billie Eilish?
Oh man, one of the greatest things for me, and this was working with Aaron Forbes, who's her music director, who did the pre-mixes of the concert sequences. Um, there's this wonderful low end that they get, that punchy, fat, deep, clear, and I think and that credit to Phineas, who's a genius, really. Um, Sonically, it's just it's a treat. I don't know how else to put it. It's just really well. implemented, very well recorded. Keeping in mind these are bedroom recordings. The first album, at least, most all of it. It's really kind of incredible to me. I mean, I think when they first passed off the mixes, some of the mixes to me, I was just blown away. How much fun it is, and that she gets these sounds in concert. That follows her. That it's her signature is this giant sound with a sweet voice, and it's just a great contrast. So I don't know. Does that kind of answer?
Yeah. And I think like what was like really, sort of struck me in the film is not just the sort of sound of the music, but the sound of the crowds. Like either,
Yeah.
when she's like while she's performing, but also at other parts of the film too, when she's walking
Right.
through them, or the cars driving past them,
Right.
and like all that sort of thing. How did you
Yeah.
sort of like? How is that from the perspective of your role in the
Well,
film?
very interesting because well, I shouldn't say most all of it. All of it's real. All of that stuff is real, and all of it was provided to me. Almost the majority of the recording of the crowds and the concert sequences are her vocal mics. So it was unique in that they had some room miking in some of the some of the sets, the clubs, the venues. And others, really, all we had were whatever vocal mics were open, and whatever reverb returns there might be. So that's what we had to spread around, basically. And you're right. I think it adds an incredible excitement because, and I remember Aaron talking to me at the very beginning as he was doing premixes saying, I'm really struggling because there are places where I can barely hear her, but the crowd is just jamming in her microphone. And that was a challenge for him, is, pulling her out of the crowd. So we had plenty of it, but generally it was, courtesy of the vocal microphones. And I thought it, was really effective because the reality is, that's truly what was going on in those situations. Her crowds, all the way down to the beginning, when you see the very first club scenes, when I think she was 16 in the first performance that we have in the movie. The crowds adore her and they go crazy for her, and it's just it's all over the track. Literally, it's all over the track. But luckily, it in a good way. I mean, it's just that energy was great. I never got RJ saying to me, "Can you push the crowd back?" So we can. Billie was crystal clear, but the crowd is in places overwhelms her, and it's moving. Because they love her.
There's such like a stark like contrast almost between worlds in the film, where we've got her at home, which is such a sort of quiet and normal type sound, and then she's like in these worlds where there's just the roar of the crowd behind her,
Yeah.
and it's so overwhelming. Like I think what was it sort of like, sort of playing those sort of contrasts, the sort of quieter scenes against and then we
That
go
was
to these louder.
a blast because it's really fun. Some of those recordings, there are some where they had a cameraman and a boom person there, and we have real microphone recordings. But many of those late night songwriting sessions of theirs are iPhone recordings. It's a little phone in the corner. And it was a challenge, and there were noises like air conditioning and large tones, and even things like backstage at Coachella, which was in their trailer, and they're having conversations after the Coachella performance that she wasn't thrilled with. And that was covered in generator and whatnot. So there was a lot of work done in sound editorial to try to reduce a lot of the noise, and when it got to me as well. But I think for me, some of the most fun was going from those small recordings and breaking into even the first club scene, which is a small club, but still opens up big, and big sound and everything. Is quite the contrast from them writing in their bedroom at night, in a little noisy environment with a little phone in the corner of the room, and it's very intimate, and fun. And you go from that to, you know, full fledged concert style stuff. It's really fun.
A lot of your work previously has been work in comedy and drama. Uh, how is it different going into the sort of documentary sort of space? Like, this isn't your first documentary,
No,
but most of your stuff. So is it a different gear you have to be in?
it is. I like to say, and especially in working with other mixing partners, there are very different styles of mixes, including within documentaries. Between us and other more traditional type documentaries. There's a difference in the approach. And I think that for me is the fun of mixing. I have a blast just like shifting gears. You go from a half-hour comedy to something very dramatic to something like Billie Eilish, who just won 6 Grammys and has this incredible sound. And it's just a lot of fun shifting gears. I think the documentary style, I allow myself to be led by the director as you would in most films, and RJ embraces sound. He's one of these people who like contacts. The first time I worked with him was on the pilot for a TV series called Nashville, which was a big music-driven show as well. And he was wonderful in that he contacted me ahead of time, said, "Let's get together and have breakfast, and you can tell me what you need me to bring to shoot for you when we're on set to the final mix." And that approach with him has been the case throughout the films I've worked with him on. I did another called Belushi, which is another documentary about John Belushi that he directed, and I it's fun getting into a director's head or a producer's head or whoever's creatively in charge, generally the director, to try to help them bring their vision to fruition. You want that to happen. And RJ, and especially in the case of this one, this is different than some documentaries I might have worked on, in that he kept using the word cinema verite. It's, let's not forget that this is reality. We're not trying to enhance or make an album shine for her here. This is, we're trying to live as though we're sitting next to her in her life. And I think it comes across that way. Including the big venue takes where you go from this teenager in her home writing songs to a superstar in a stadium full of adoring, screaming fans. It's something to see, and I think you feel it, and you feel for her a lot because throughout this thing, one thing you don't lose sight of, I think, is that she's a teenager. She's just now starting to come out of that. So it's very much a coming of age film, and the way and the approach is to be part of her ride, in the case of this particular one. So I don't know if that answers it, but yes, there's definitely style differences and a difference in the approach to the mixes, I think.
Was there a particular scene that you mixed that was like particularly affected you, or that you thought was particularly special in the film?
There's a couple. I should say probably all the performances really in some way or another, but if you watch their Coachella performances, she has a fail at the beginning of the Coachella performances, and it's a big deal to her to be performing Coachella. She's just starting to break out, and this is like a huge venue for anybody, never mind a new artist. And that one hurt physically. You sit there, you watch her, she struggled, it hurt her. You could, and then she does this incredible performance, her final song at Coachella, where she kills it. It's just amazing. And just seeing the emotion she was going through and going through that ride with her, I think is very moving, as well as, I can't remember the song at the end, but there's one of the songs at the end where she starts to break up in the middle of the song, and the crowd helps her finish the song. And it's very touching. I think there's quite a bit of that in the film.
Yeah. Now, Billie Eilish obviously won a whole haul of Grammys. You are an Emmy winner, Elmo. Yes. You've won 2 Emmys for the series Barry, that I see right behind you.
Yes.
Over your shoulder. Very good. We're an awards website at Gold Derby. What did those Emmys mean to you to win them?
The ones that I won, because we were nominated for Billie's doc. Unfortunately, we did not win.
Yeah.
But it always means a lot. That nomination for me, and I've had a good career, was my 12th nomination. It was very exciting to me. The nomination alone is, as I learned, well, let's put it this way. My first nomination was the 51st Annual Emmy Awards, and my first win was the 70th, so it took 19 years before I saw a statue, and it was, I think, my 11th, not my 10th nomination. So they mean a lot. It took a long time for them to land, and it's I'm grateful, and it's surreal that it actually exists. I had a friend of my wife's was visiting recently, and was very fussed about the Emmys, and she never dreamt she'd see one, never mind hold one, whatever. And it's like, we take some things for granted in our business, that we people praise us and give us accolades and give us shiny things, and it's such a sweet bonus to an otherwise really fun career anyway. We're really lucky to be here, never mind win things. So for me, they're very special. It's very I don't take them for granted. I'm grateful.
Was your first nomination for NYPD Blue? Was that the
That is correct.
Yeah. So like what are you glad that Barry's the show from all the shows and all the projects you've been nominated for? Are you happy that Barry's the one where you got the wins?
Sure. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
Barry is so much fun to mix. I mean, I'm really lucky on that show. We've got Bill Hader's one of the executive producers as well as the star of the show. And he comes to the mixes and he has a lot of creative input, and we have a blast. And, it's a little bit like being in a skit for Saturday Night Live occasionally, because he just like, he starts kind of quiet, and then he'll start dropping things, and he sees you laugh, he goes for you. He'll like, he'll put you on the floor. You're in a little ball rolling around laughing. So I have such a good time on that show and working on that show and with those people. So sure, I think it's great that was the show that won. I'd have taken it any of the others,
Yeah.
honestly, but
Yeah, fair
sure,
enough.
Barry worked great.
Yeah. What as someone, obviously you've been in the industry a long time. You've been getting Emmy nominations since the 51st Emmys. Uh, what was there a particular film or television series or something that you saw that made you want to get into doing sound on those sort of works? Like what sort of
Wow. I can't say that I can put that on any one thing, but like a lot of us, I grew up through the Star Wars movies, and Spielberg was big, and I saw Jaws in a theater when I was a kid. Which, speaking of sound, and it's an interesting thing, and I won't say that this is a good thing or that it led me to mixing, but man, that the opening scene of Jaws where the girl gets attacked by the shark and she starts to bob in the water as he attacks her and pulls her under, I nearly almost got physically ill because of the sound of that, of what was happening, as well as the visual and her performance or what have you. But I mean, it was something else. But I want to say I grew up in the heyday of sound, climbing up through the Raiders of the Lost Arks and the Star Wars and those kind of films. And so sure, I think I was very heavily influenced by that stuff.
yeah. I guess sort of Elmo, what is something that you learnt from Billie Eilish in putting this film together?
Wow. That's a good one. Be true to your art. This is what's else, watching her, and because of her age, and she's still living in her parents' home, throughout this documentary, most of it. Um, she feels all of what she does, and it's inspiring. It truly is, and I think it's something for all of us to not take for granted. And certainly, like any of us, any job, even a good one, even one you love, sometimes it feels like a job. I got to go to work. I got to do it. I can't leave until a certain time. You get caught up in the I got to get it done by a deadline, and sometimes you lose sight of how lucky we are to get to express ourselves creatively like this. This is pretty cool, and I see a love for her art throughout the film, in her and the way she approaches her music, and it comes out in her music. I mean, that's why her music is so fabulous. It's her heart's in there, and I think I took that You know, I think there's always someone to learn from someone that successful and creative at any age. I mean, she exudes her art. You know, she embodies it, and I don't know. I think that's it. You know.
Well, she says that towards the beginning of the film, the least I can do is make art, or something to that effect. So,
Right, right.
um, I think no better spot to end than there, Elmo. Thank you so much for talking with us today
My
about
pleasure.
Billie Eilish. All the best of luck with the awards down the pipeline for this project as
Thank
well.
you. Yeah, who knows?
Yeah. And people watch this interview can go to goldderby.com to make your own awards predictions and watch other interviews with awards contenders.